Hello, today I'll be presenting my research project. The conceptual framework for this research project derives from concern from the students at my current school. Observing senior secondary students for over 15 years, I've noticed that the stress associated with senior secondary students included test stress, the stress of adolescence, identity formation, peer and familial pressure, and for third culture kids, the addition of being uprooted again for university. By observing senior secondary students and asking them and their teachers about the stresses that undermine their well-being, it is hoped that a program can be tailor-made to meet the unique needs of these students. Test stress is nothing new, nor are the issues associated with adolescence. However, university placements have never been as competitive as they are today, and students at my school have the added stress of being third culture kids with identities that are struggling to form in a world that is increasingly expanding for them. It is for these reasons that this research project came about, and it is with this in mind that these issues are explored until enough information is compiled to develop a program that is proactive and targets senior secondary students. This program will create more resilient, more prepared global citizens who have the strategies to propel them into the world for decades. The research project will answer the question: what activities and initiatives should be implemented in international schools to support senior secondary student well-being? Senior secondary students are facing the most important challenges of their lives as they approach their final exams and assignments leading to tertiary education opportunities. Moreover, international school students are facing a potentially life-changing move to another country for tertiary education. This, coupled with their adolescent development, third culture identity issues and familial expectations, they are under enormous amounts of pressure. The methodology for this project aims to use mixed method and action research elements to create an appropriate and tailored wellbeing program that is proactive and effective in dealing with the pressures of senior secondary school. Carl Rossenthaler observed the impact of the IB diploma program course on senior secondary students and found that the course subject added considerable stress on senior secondary students. In fact, students felt stressed and overwhelmed by these components. Betwain states that stress relating to examinations and assessments did not manifest as a result of the examinations and assessments alone. Rather, it is the fear of failure that impacts student future prospects and the stigma associated with failure, which impacts their self-identity. These factors alone confirm the need for effective wellbeing programs in senior secondary schools. The aim of the research project is clear. Much of the empirical research suggests that programs that stem from positive psychology theory have a positive impact on student wellbeing. And it is simply best practice to develop a program that has a positive and practical impact on students from all curriculum schools. My mixed methodology includes using a mixed method and action research approach that will allow me to compile information to ensure I'm able to create a proactive and effective wellbeing program to support senior secondary students. The inclusion of a literature review will provide me with information on the current discourse surrounding wellbeing. Through the analysis of historical data, quantitative data will be collected to provide a picture of the student results post-exams to gauge the test stress impact on the cohort preparing to undertake the program. Through a confidential survey, we will develop a clear understanding of what students believe causes their stress, what they think the impact is on them, and whether what is currently being done is effective in treating some of the causes. Semi-structured focus groups will be created that will include students, teachers, and key informant responders who will give us further details to establish what students and teachers think is needed to create a proactive program for senior secondary students. This program will be rolled out to grade 11 students starting in term 2 and throughout grade 11 and 12. Action research will be included through follow-up interviews that will take place after the program has completed an initial phase to gauge its impact on students and teachers. Student report data will be analysed to see if the impact included student success to create a holistic picture of the impact of the program. The program will then undergo some alterations according to the feedback before being introduced to the following grade 11. The action research structure inclusion will allow the program to undergo continued reflection as we ask ourselves and the students, Is what we are doing working? Research should not harm participants. Methods used in this project involve students, however, they are only involved in surveys and interviews. All of the participants will be kept safe from harm on school property, and the school counsellor will be present during interviews with students. Permissions will be obtained from both the school board and principal, as well as parents, and the students will also give their assent. All participants will be able to withdraw at any point and at any time. As mentioned earlier, the methods I'll be using include a literature review, historical report, data collection, a teacher and student survey, focus group, semi-structured interviews with students, teachers and key informants, and a review of the program once it has completed its first cycle. That includes follow-up interviews as well as a review of student data to establish if there is any change in results. Using a mixed method approach, first, qualitative data will be obtained through a literature review to explore wellbeing programs currently in place in international schools, and to refine the definition of what stresses facing senior secondary students to answer the question, what is happening in this space? The literature review will include studies pertaining to third culture identity, adolescence and identity development, test anxiety, and finally, mental health issues relating to adolescence. It is expected that the data will correlate with the hypotheses that senior secondary students are under extraordinary amounts of stress, leading to high levels of anxiety and depression, which impact their ability to be successful in their final exams. This data will be presented to the board and executive principal as part of the permissions application to begin the next phase of the project. This process ensures the project has the correct approvals, but also that the school is invested in the results of the project and receives maximum buy-in from the staff and the school community as a whole. The results from the literature review will be prepared and organised under subheadings that include, but are not limited to, the extent of stress experienced by senior secondary students, strategies currently used in schools to cope with test anxiety, and the impact of positive psychology and wellbeing programs to alleviate stress. These subheadings will be used to create questions for the survey and semi-structured focus group interviews that will take place after this historical data has been assessed. An analysis of student data will be conducted to provide a historical picture of the student success and failings while in semester 3 of grade 10. Data will be collected from student report grades of students currently in semester 1 of grade 11 to establish a pattern of success and determine the impact of the program on improving student success. This data will be prepared and organised into profiles to identify students at risk and will be linked to survey and interview responses of participants. This data will be updated after the first round of the wellbeing program and exams are completed. This data, along with the data from the literature review, will assist in creating questions for the surveys and interviews to ensure the questions target individual students. Upon compiling the data from the literature review and the student historical data, questions must be asked to narrow the focus of the study and presented as a survey. These include, but are not limited to, what elements of school life cause most of the stress for our students, and what can be done to alleviate this stress or at least prepare the students to cope better with this stress. The answers will be used to identify the students' understanding of stress, the stresses they believe affect their learning and success, and to identify their goals post-secondary school. A second survey will be developed for teachers that asks similar questions, but that focuses on what teachers need to assist students and how these activities can be implemented with little additional stress to them. This data will be used to develop more targeted questions for the focus group interviews. The interviews will include participants from grade 11, teachers and key informants from the senior secondary school. These interviews will be voluntary for both students and teachers. It is hoped that at least 25% of the student cohort and teaching staff will participate in the interviews to ensure a broad selection is presented. Expressions of interest will be emailed to grade 11 students, asking students to come forward to participate, ensuring this is voluntary and the results will be honest and genuine. The students and teacher interview information, like the survey data, will be anonymous and students will be presented numerically. Teachers will be identified alphabetically rather than by their names to protect their anonymity and to ensure their responses are honest and direct. Key informants will also be interviewed for logistical data. This is to ensure our data includes practical perspective from the principal, performance team and deans, as they will have additional information that could assist in creating a more suitable and proactive program. Once the key information is collected, it will be organised and prepared to establish what the dominant stresses for the cohort are and what the participants feel could be implemented to alleviate or manage them. Interviews will be recorded using a recording app on a laptop. Following the first round of interviews, a program of lessons and activities and initiatives will be developed and implemented. The culmination of the data collection will be used to develop a program that will assist students in coping with the stress of senior secondary school. This program will include activities and initiatives that give students opportunities to relax and focus on other things other than their studies, like gardening, yoga, mindfulness practice, and sports. Other activities may include strategies to avoid stress, such as teaching time management skills, providing an after-school homework centre, a teacher helpline, or a mentor program where students can reach out to a teacher for assistance or support. Teaching students how to ask for help can be very empowering. Other activities or initiatives can include casual dress days, morning teas, cohort building activities, and group outings to develop stronger bonds between students, which can alleviate some of the peer stress. These ideas are only some of the possibilities that can result from the data collection, and it is hoped that the program runs without interruption for 3 hours per week over at least 12 weeks, and is then repeated with additions and adjustments for the remainder of the school year for grade 11 and term 1 and 2 for grade 12. In the post-program review, data will be collected from student report grades after the course of activities and incentives has concluded to determine the impact of the program on improving student success. Students and teachers will be interviewed again to confirm the success of the program in reducing stress and developing student capacity to cope with stress better. This data will be used to make changes to the program, which will then form the foundation of the wellbeing program that will be implemented throughout the senior secondary school, aligned with the student timetable and adapted according to continued data monitoring. Betwain, Gallard and Beaumont stated that their program for improving wellbeing in senior students would have benefited from an extended time frame for implementation. And so this proposal suggests the program be included in the timetable during term 2 and 3 of their grade 11 and term 1 and 2 of grade 12. It is hoped that this methodology answers the question, what activities and initiatives should be implemented in international schools to support senior secondary student wellbeing? The results of the program should include a deeper understanding of the stress experienced by students in their final years of school, establish a proactive program that targets stresses in order to avoid these stresses developing into mental health issues, and provide students with strategies that they can use when facing similar stress during their tertiary education journey. As Hochstetler states, education research should serve students, teachers, and communities' wellbeing, and it is hoped that this project will do just that. Thank you.